The WNBA free agency is heating up, and one of the most intriguing names on the market is Katie Lou Samuelson. Once a standout at UConn, Samuelson is now an unrestricted free agent, and in just 10 days, she'll have the chance to choose her next destination. The big question is, where will she land? And more importantly, which team is willing to take a chance on her? Now, let's be real. Samuelson's time in Indiana was far from ideal. The Fever essentially replaced her with players on minimum contracts, signaling that she was not in their long-term plans. It is clear she was never a priority there, especially with players like Katie Lou Bonner and Sophie Cunningham, who play the same position but are simply better. However, despite this, Samuelson is not completely out of options. According to reports, nearly half the league has shown some level of interest in her. Why? Because if you can get her cheap, she might be worth the risk. Nobody wanted her at her old $180,000 contract, but for a minimum deal, suddenly, teams are intrigued. One of the most notable teams linked to her is the Minnesota Lynx. The Lynx seem to be considering her as a depth piece, and honestly, that might be the perfect role for her at this stage in her career. She would not be expected to carry a heavy load. Just come in, knock down a few threes, and provide some floor spacing. Then there's the New York Liberty. Their bench is pretty weak, especially at the forward spot, so she could slide into that rotation. Playing alongside stars like Jonquel Jones and Breanna Stewart might take some of the pressure off her and help her find a rhythm. And don't forget the Seattle Storm. They are in a rough spot salary-wise, but if they can get her for the minimum, it wouldn't be the worst move. After all, she did have a decent stint there before. Now, let's talk about why teams are still interested in her. Because if you look at her WNBA numbers, they are not great. Her shooting has been inconsistent, and she has never really found a steady role. But teams still believe in her because of what she did at UConn. This is what people call the UConn tax. Players who start at UConn tend to get more chances than others because of their college success. And Katie Lou Samuelson is a prime example of that. But if she's available for the minimum, that's a bet some teams are willing to make. The biggest issue with her game? Confidence. If you watch her warm-ups, people say she can drain 20+ threes in a row. But once the game starts, it's a different story. She hesitates, second-guesses herself, and suddenly, the shots aren't falling. If a coach can fix that, she might still have something left in the tank. That's why Minnesota could be the best spot. There's no pressure, no expectations. Just come off the bench, shoot a few threes, and see what happens. If she knocks them down, great. If not, they move on. Simple as that. So here's the million-dollar question. Does Katie Lou Samuelson actually have a future in the WNBA? Or is she just surviving off her UConn hype? Will she land in Minnesota, New York, maybe even back in Seattle? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I need to hear what you guys think. And if you made it this far, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.